Hello everybody, welcome to another tutorial by Design from Within. In this tutorial I'd like to explain to you how to make your website in MODX multilingual, set up Babel and have a website with multiple languages. This video tutorial is part of my blog post on designfromwithin.com/blog, and it's this post, MODX Multilingual, setting up Babel and have a website with multiple languages. Please go here to get all the code. Go quickly through all the text. Well, you can just copy the code nicely, so please check that out and comment if you have any issues with it. Okay, let's get started. What are we going to create? I have created the site already on my website designfromwithin.com/test. As you can see, the basic page is English, and there are 3 languages: English, Dutch, and it will add NL, and as you can see the code is Dutch, and German. It will add DE, and the text is in German. So that's what we want. We want a nice, easy way to create multiple languages, have the basic language just the .com. In my case, I have a subfolder, so it says test, and then other languages will simply add a language code behind the root. So that's what we're going to do. On the back end, it looks like this. I just had a fresh install and have 3 context: web, that's the default English; Nederlands, that's Dutch; and Deutsch, German. Okay, so let me show you how I did this. What you will need is here a fresh installation of MODX Revolution 2.1 or higher. It might work on lower versions as well, but well, I just use this one. I prefer 2.0, 2.2 of course. Access to your root folder. You have to change your ht.access file to .htAccess and add something to it, so you need access to your root. And we will need Babel, the package, so you can install it from the MODX. There are some useful links here on the post about Babel, friendly URLs and context on the official documentation of MODX. Please check those out. But first, let's get started. What I have is my website. I call it test2. It's a subfolder of my website. This is the backend. I didn't do anything to it. I just did a fresh installation of MODX Revolution 2.2-0 public license 2 traditional. So the latest version. And here are simply my files online locally. Okay, the first thing what we need is go to your folder. These are the files of my website, as you can see, test2. Open, you will find an ht.access file. Open it in your code editor. And what I first need to do is change this one, rewrite base. You might not, but in my case it's in a subfolder. It's behind my regular website, and I called it test2. So if your website's in a subfolder, you will need to add the subfolder here. So in my case, I need to do this, test2. If you are not in a subfolder, you can just remove it, but please check that out. So that's what I need to do. The next thing I need, so I did this. The next thing I need is to rewrite the domain. Usually you will want to do this. You will see this code here, this one. So what you do is you remove these and you just enter your website here. In my case, designfromwithin.com, like so. So if your file was in the root, you will do this and you will change this to your website. In my case, I don't need to do this because this already happens on the root of my website. So designfromwithin.com already does this for me, and I'm in a subfolder, so I don't need this one. But usually you will probably need to use this. Okay, next point is this. You will need to change the friendly URLs part and add some other stuff there. I'm going to copy it from my site. Scroll down until you see friendly URLs part. Simply replace that and add the other stuff. Let me explain what this does. This will rewrite your URL and it will check for these languages. We're going to add these: English, NL, Dutch, and DE, German. So we're going to need those. If you have different languages, if you maybe have Japanese, you will do JA maybe, I don't know, or French is FR. but in my case it will be English, Dutch and German. As you can see, these codes are also here. What happens here is that whenever a request is done to the root for this file, it will check if it sees this language and it will change the root file. Same thing for this one, assets. So change all of these values to your languages that you are going to use. Okay, so in my case it's English, Dutch and German. Okay, what I can do now is save as. I'm going to save it as .htaccess. Okay, I can close it now. And I can, if I see online there's ht.access. And I just saved this one, the .htaccess. What you can do is remove the ht.access, keep a backup. And I'm gonna copy my .htaccess online. Done. Now I can refresh my page, my cache, clear my cache, and it should still work fine. Okay, so that's done. We have our htaccess set up. Next thing we need is create our context. So you go to your MODX backend, system, context. Okay, and you see here MGR, that's your manager, and web, that's your default context, usually English. So I'm gonna right click on web, update context, and go to context settings. And I'm gonna add some settings. So create new. If you go to my blog post, you will see here we need to add these values. So base URL. For the key base URL, then enter a name, base URL. Add it under language, and the base URL for the default should be just a slash, because we want our root file to be oursite.com. In my case /test2/. But just the base is just this. Save. Add another one. The next one is culture key on my site. So add culture key. Culture key. Oh. Key. Under language again. And the culture key for English will be EN. English. Save. This key EN is the same as in our htaccess file, as you can see here. So if you scroll down, these three. So we're going to add NL for Dutch and DE for German. Okay, create another context under web setting, site start. This one will be this one, and then call it site start. Under language again, and site start in our case is 1, because that's our home page of our default context. Save it, and we need one more. Site URL. Site URL. And enter language again. It's a bit boring this, but we need to do this. My site URL is http designfromwithin.com/test2, because I installed it in a subfolder. This will probably for you be yourwebsite.com/ and nothing else. But so please check it. Also check this http. You might have this www. And then yoursite.com. In my root folder of Design from Within, under my htaccess, I use this one. Rewrite cont domain www.domain.com is rewritten to just domain.com. So my site always removes the www. If you use this one, if you rewrite it to have the www, then you will need to change this to www. So, but for SEO, I think this is better. We don't need the www. Okay, so we add our site URL. So now our web context, English context is done. We can go again to system, context. And now it's going to be a little bit boring. What we will need to do is create a new context for other language. And mine is Nederlands, is Dutch. So I'm going to call it Nederlands. And I'm going to say Dutch translation of this site. Translation of this site. Okay. So now I have Dutch. And unfortunately we're gonna have to do the same thing for Dutch. So open it, go to context settings, create a new setting, and do it again. So base URL, and again language. And our base URL in this case is not a dash, but it's a dash NL for Dutch. Now do it this again, another one, culture key. You will probably get the hang of this very soon, especially if you have a lot of languages. Culture key, language, and our culture key is NL for Dutch. Create another one, site start. So enter site start. And now we have a problem because we don't have a site yet, but you can always change this later, of course. I haven't created any pages yet, so the next page will be number 2. So I'm going to create the Dutch homepage next, so I'm going to enter 2. If you already created your pages, please check the number behind the homepage you want, so in the context. So this is going to be 2. And finally, we need the final setting. It will be site URL. Enter it under language, and my site URL in this case will be designfromwithin.com/test2/nl, because that's the root of our Dutch site. In your case you might not need the test2 and the NL might be different, so please check that. Okay. Final, we need our German context, of course. So go to system again, context, create new, enter Deutsch, German translation of this site, something like that. Okay, right click on it, update context, and we are gonna do this one final time. So enter another setting, enter base URL. I'll do it a little faster now. Language, our base URL is /de for German, not a slash. Create another base URL, another setting, sorry. This time it's culture key. Culture key, enter it under language. And our culture key is German, DE, Deutsch. Another setting, site start. Enter it under language. And our site start will be number 3 because the Dutch will be 2 and the next one I create is 3. Please check that for your site. And a final setting, and then we're done with this, is the site URL again. Site URL. HTTP designfromwithin.com/test2 in my case, and then DE. That's our site URL. Save. Okay, so then we have our context done. You can clear our cache for this to be sure. Okay, now we're done with our context. If you go to the site again, we finished all these, the German ones. Now we need a gateway plugin. Just copy the code from my site, go to your backend, and go to Elements, and create a new plugin. You can call it Gateway, and enter the code of my plugin. Let's check out the code. It says here, it grabs the language culture key, which we just created for each context, as you can see here. For each context we created the culture key. NL is Dutch, so if it's Dutch it will set the context to Nederlands, as you can see here, Nederlands. If it's DE, German, it will set the context to Deutsch. And if it's default it will stay web, English. So this is what we need in our gateway plugin. Oh, just don't use a capital G. If your languages are different, of course, you will change these. And you just copy this part and create a new one if you need to add more languages. We're not done yet. You need to go to System Events and scroll down a little bit to On Handler Request. On Handle Request. And you need to tag that one. Each time the page refreshes, it needs to re-trigger this plugin. And now you can click on Save. Okay, so we're step 3, create a gateway plugin. And then we can install Babel. So clear your cache, press OK, go to System, Package Management, download extras, and then search for Babel. You will find it, as you can see here. So just click on download, go back to package management, and you can click install. It will give you a changelog and some changes. Go to setup options, and here you can see it already detected our contexts. So keep those here. If it missed one, you can add them. You can also add them later, of course. And just keep the rest default. This one as well, the name of the Babel template variable, you can just keep it that way. And then click install package. Click OK. Okay, if we now refresh our page, clear cache. And if I now refresh my page, I should see my home, as you can see. But if I enter day A, it should be German. The page is not found. Let me check what's going on. Oh, that's true, because we didn't create the page yet. So let's create a site in our Dutch section. Let's call it Home Dutch, like this. Just fill in some content maybe, and some alias and a menu title, and have it published. So I just add some stuff. That's Home Dutch, and now as you can see it's number 2, so that's correct in our settings. And finally I'm creating a German page under Deutsch. I do the same, just call it German so that we can see that it changed. And just enter some values here and publish it. If we now clear our cache, it should find the site, as you can see, Home German. And if I put in NL, it should be Dutch. And if I just remove that, all the files, it should just be English. We didn't put any content there yet, so let's do that now. Let's, just to be clear, call this English. Let's type it correctly. Just enter a few values here. And now we have all our pages translated. Okay. I now created these pages by hand, but you can see here the Babel plugin. It's really nice. It works very well. If you want to say this page is a translated version of another page, you can just hover over the other language, and in this case the Dutch one. So this page, number 1, is the translated version of number 2. So just save it like that, and it will turn green, as you can see. And this one is the translated version of number 3, just to finish the Babel link. So now we can keep track of what we translated over our site. Okay, so that works, but we don't have a navigation yet. So how do we add that? Well, if you scroll to my page, I will add that later. If you scroll up, you will find some useful links here. The Babel manual. Click on the Babel manual, and there is extra, if you scroll down, called Babel links here under snippets. Click on that one, scroll down a little bit, and you will see an example. This will add the navigation between languages. So copy that code, go to your site, go to Elements, Templates, and go to the template you are using. In this case I just kept the base template, and just above my context, I'm going to add this code. So I'm going to add a little navigation for our language links. I'm going to save it. I'm going to clear our cache. OK. Refresh, and now we have our menu. English. There's an error. It can't find the page. Let me show you why. We didn't activate friendly URLs yet. So now if you go to System Settings and go to Filter by Area, Friendly URL, scroll down all the way, you need to add this one. Use friendly URLs and use friendly URL path. Clear cache. And now if I go to our site, it should be our English. If I click on Dutch, it probably needs to refresh. Okay, yeah, and then it's fine. As you can see, I still get an error. If I go to open the Dutch, it says an HTTP protocol. I probably mistyped something. Let's go to context. Let's go to our Dutch context. Our settings. Yes, this is not correct, of course. It should be HTTP. So that way you can see even an experienced guy as me will make some mistakes. Let's clear it again. And now if I go to Dutch, it will be Dutch, English, German. English is just the base, Dutch has NL, and German has DE. So I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. I hope you enjoy your multilingual site. Please visit my site, designfromwithin.com, and check back again. Thank you very much.